All right, we are live. Michael Ramsey, welcome to the future of fitness.
Thanks for having me, Eric.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. I'm already enjoying our conversation today. The black sheep of Pilates, right? I'm going to learn some things today about Pilates that I don't really know. I've never, I think I've told you in our previous conversation, I've taken a couple of Pilates class back in the day when I hurt my back, but it's come a long way over the last like 15, 20 years. And you guys are crushing it, man. So really excited to have you on and learn about your story and learn a little bit about Pilates and what's going on in the marketplace specifically. So, Michael, if you don't mind, let's kick it off as we usually do. Just tell us a little bit about your background. How'd you be one of the co-founders of Strong Pilates, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, it's been a 10, 11-year journey in the sort of boutique fitness space. I actually started out as a personal trainer when I was 17. Standard big box, kind of run-of-the-mill type stuff, writing programs, personal training, and very quickly sort of fell out of love with it. I felt more of a psychologist and a personal trainer at times, and
Yeah, totally.
end up yeah end up going into marketing and did a master's of commerce and worked in marketing in the oil and gas industry, believe it or not. And then I met my business partner Mark, who we sort of started early days working together in the hospitality industry, and he told me about this concept called F45. This is about 11 years ago, and he said, I think this is great, it's new, it's up and coming, you've got a PT background, you've got a marketing background, I think you'd be great, let's go in together. So we actually launched the 10th F45 studio in the world. So think about it now. I'm not sure how many there are, 1,200, 1,300, maybe something like that. We were number 10. And very quickly, we ended up winning best studio globally based off revenue. And then we did that 3 years running, and we scaled that to 6 boutique locations, and then sold out at sort of the end of kind of around mid 2019, sort of right before that the COVID hit and everything went down.
Good timing.
Yeah, it was a super. I always refer to the F45 experience as probably one of the best apprenticeships in boutique fitness. When they started, there wasn't a whole lot of infrastructure. It was just scale, go, go, go for them. And so we had to figure a lot of this stuff out ourselves. And myself and Mark, we were always thinking there's things that we know that we can do well and that we can maybe do better, and there's things we like to explore. Ironically, I was working with Adidas. I was an Adidas athlete. I was doing a lot of plyometric work at the time, and I was running in an Adidas commercial for a new runner. And the brief was, it was like on the streets of Sydney, jump over shopping trolleys and do all this sort of stuff. And I broke my ankle. And this is sort of towards our exit with F45. And, so all the stuff that I was accustomed to doing, and my body was pretty beaten up after sort of, 5 years straight of that type of training, I rehabbed on a reformer, and everything that was sort of all my deficiencies within my body dissipated very, very quickly. I had a quads tendinopathy in my right knee. I had a obviously broken ankle with tendon problems, lower back pain. Everything dissipated quite quickly. I was doing one-on-one clinical Pilates training, and I fell in love with it. And I thought, this is amazing, but I still feel like I need more. I need to go for a run or lift some heavy weights or do something more, because I wasn't getting those endorphins and that satisfaction kind of post Pilates workout. And then a friend of mine showed me this Reformer machine, which was actually created in the US in sort of Newport Beach, Orange County. I jumped on a flight. Mark as well jumped on a flight. We went over there. We tried this Reformer in a class. I think there was like maybe 10 or 12 Reformers in there. And it was everything that I felt like I was missing from a Reformer perspective. It had a rower attached to the Reformer. It was high intensity, but completely low impact. And myself and Mark looked at each other and were like, we need to get this back to Australia. So long story short, the machine ended up getting a patent granted, which I believe is now global. And we negotiated the exclusive rights for the Reformer and ended up building a franchise model around the Reformer. And then Strong was born kind of towards the end of 2019. We opened our first studio.
Yeah. Wow, man. And look at you now. So it's 2025, coming up on your 100th opening, right?
Yeah, a very exciting milestone. Next month we open our 100th studio. We've got around 95 studios in 14 countries now. We have almost, I think it's over 150 locations sold now in the US. So I've just moved over. I'm living in Austin now, and we're embarking on this huge sort of US expansion. There's 6 studios in pre-sale. Our second one launches next week, third one the week after. They're Houston, New York, and then Austin will ironically be number 100 where I am right now. So very, very exciting. It's all happened quite quickly because when you think about it, like we launched in 2019 and we're actually in Melbourne, Australia, and it was one of the most locked down city in the world. Really, we've only had like a 3.5 year run at this. We're at 100 now, and who knows where we'll land.
That's an exceptional clip that you guys are working at. That's fast, man.
Yeah. Yeah. And the interesting thing is like, we don't do a whole lot of B2B marketing. Like from a franchise perspective, we don't run a whole lot of ads. The way we've expanded so quickly, every time we go into a new market, we launch studios with thriving communities that are super busy. We've got a great pre-sale average. So the studio's opening profitable. They're busy. The format is so unique and different. Like we're strength, Pilates, cardio in one. And then when we open, generally we get a lot of interest within those areas, those states, those cities for people to buy more franchises. So it's been really, really organic and very purposeful. Like it's not like we just got lucky and whatever else. We've taken a lot of the experience we had from F45 and then launching our first couple of Strongs. It's very purposeful the way we've gone about this, but it has been an incredible sort of organic lift, particularly in like the last 2 years. It's kind of, the network's doubled year on year. And actually in June, when we launch this next studio, we'll have already matched our biggest year. So then we've got another 6 months to sort of ramp again. So it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, man. Well, let's talk about the modality itself. I mean, you mentioned, it's strength plus Pilates plus cardio training. That's a lot of things to pack into one session, right? So maybe come at it from the point of like the member experience. Like what is that like? Walk us through it.
Yeah. So when the member checks in, they actually get to choose whether they ride or row. So you pick your weapon of choice. It's either a bike or a rower. And we have, call it 2/3 of the studio are row formers, and then 1/3 is bike formers. And that's sort of made up of anywhere from 15 to 2 beds in the space. So the client walks in, they get to pick their weapon of choice. They have guided tech. So one really cool thing that we built out was the tech screens. Now, it's not like the Vive or some of those brands where you can just click play and it just sort of repeats the exercises. The instructor can click through as they go. So it's like a guided visual. So you've got the tech there, which was incredible when we brought that in. And it was about a year after we launched. Our conversion from male trials to members just went through the roof. And what we discovered was men actually really want to try Pilates, but sometimes they're intimidated. They've never done it before. So having that visual guide is incredible. And then the client, depending on the class, like it might be a strength-based class, it might be a Pilates-focused class with no rowing. Our hero class is called Strong Body, where you'll go from, say, 10 minutes of Pilates to 3 minutes of rowing to 10 minutes of Pilates to 4 minutes of rowing to 10 minutes of Pilates to 5 minutes of like whatever it is, it's that back and forth type modality. And the good thing with the rower is you can spike your heart rate and then you can go back to the reformer and hold a plank under tension. And you're still so gassed from rowing that your heart rate stays elevated through the entire concept. So you're burning a whole lot more calories. Because we have the rower and the bike, we don't need to do things like plyometrics or there's jump boxes with a lot of Pilates modalities as well. We use the rower and the bike to increase heart rate, and then we can just work on those slow controlled movements. So it is effectively a strength and conditioning workout. And then the other thing that we do that's super, super unique is we go up to, I'll just do the conversion, but roughly 70-pound dumbbells as well.
Okay.
You're lifting, there's progressive overload blocks where you're working anaerobically. So you stop, rest, and you go again and you lift heavier, which is super important. I love Pilates, but I think me personally, like it's very hard to build muscle when you're working aerobically, doing a Pilates flow for 45 minutes. You need that progressive overload and you need to work in those different energy systems to get those sort of results and actually build lean muscle. So we've incorporated that into the training as well. So it is a full solution. I know it sounds like a lot, but it's pretty seamless. The row seat is actually one of the carriages. So it's all attached and it's all this sort of fluid front to back sort of workout where, you're experiencing everything in one.
So it reminds me a little bit of like early days of CrossFit, right? Where this modality came on. People are like, dude, you can't do that. Like there's rules. Like you can't do that. You can't combine high intensity, high repetition weight training into a workout. You shouldn't do that, right? It was like this big, shitstorm around it. But you know what? It's like people kept doing it and people really liked it and people got a lot of great results. I mean, we can look back at CrossFit and judge it in its own way now, but I'm sure you're hearing that a lot. Like, hey man, you're breaking rules. You can't do that. So what's been the feedback from like maybe the fitness industry or people who are a little bit more old school who are maybe just, they're like looking at like, I don't like it.
Yeah, look, I think everyone's got a valid opinion. Pilates started as very controlled, very almost one-on-one. So from a clinical perspective, and there's almost a big divide now in the Pilates space where it's sort of clinical versus fitness Pilates. And so the clinical or traditionalists, they hate us. And like we get the comments on social media, we get the messages, we get everything. And, for us, at the start, I was a little bit concerned about it. And then when we look at our audience and our members, and I think we've got almost 28,000 members today, as long as we're doing what the consumer wants and values, and we're adhering to their wants, needs, values, we're fine. And it's so interesting. We just did a survey to all of our members. We had a huge response rate. And the number one reason, it was like, you can pick like 6 or 7 multiple choice questions or answers, sorry. The number one reason people train at Strong, 83% said because of the unique workout style of strength, Pilates, cardio. And interestingly, the middle answer, 70% train because they want more than Pilates. So every time I sort of get this like negative feedback or cop some hate from the traditionalists within the Pilates space, I just look back on the members and if we didn't have members and we didn't have huge following and this sort of crazy cult following, we wouldn't be at 100 locations. So I don't know. I think you need to break some rules sometimes to create something special, and super confident that what we're doing is very much needed in this space. Particularly, mate, like if you're paying $200, $300 a month for a membership, you want to do more than just Pilates. You want your strength and conditioning. You want your cardiovascular training for heart health. You want that full solution, and you want to do it in a space where, it's very low risk of injury, can train 5, 6, 7 days a week. And that's all we're providing. So yeah, it's a super interesting time and space to be in right now. That's for sure.
Well, ultimately, what matters is, are you getting the results that your clients want? So are you guys getting the results your clients want?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think our satisfactory rating for programming was 8.8 out of 10 from that survey. And I have the absolute pleasure of traveling all over the world, 14 countries, and visiting these studios and meeting the members, and I mean, it fitter, stronger, they're building muscle, they're happier. Like it's something like you can kind of sit back and criticize, but until you're actually in there and you're meeting the members and understanding the results that they're getting, and it's changing lives, like it's very hard to argue. And this is probably like the thing I don't love about the fitness industry is everyone's so critical of everything that's happening. It's not just Pilates, it's almost every modality, but people are moving and they're getting healthier and they're feeling better. Like what is the big problem? I don't understand it. As long as it's done safely, and it's something I've sort of battled with for a little bit, but now just having the confidence and having undeniable proof of what we're doing has been just so helpful.
Yeah, I don't know why the industry is like that. It's been like that for a very long time. I mean, it's about as like fragmented and disjointed as you could see in many times. And I think I'm going to look at it favorably and say that I think it's because people come to it with a lot of passion, right? They go down a route. They specifically educate themselves. Like, you know, I can go back to my experience of like when Olympic lifting and CrossFit combined, right? It was like, well, now all of a sudden, a lot more people are introduced to snatches and cleans and jerks, right? Way more. Like it was a dying sport. And then it resurged. But then a lot of people in the Olympic weightlifting community are like, well, no, you can't do it that way. Like you shouldn't do it that way. Like you got to listen to us. This is an abomination, right? And it's like, at the end of the day, you have to step back, be like, well, yeah, but look how many people are coming into the gym now. And look at the communities we're building. Look at like all of the benefits. Like, why can't we just step back as a, you know, kind of a general fitness community and forget about the specific modalities? Like what's the big issues? And as you're probably learning here in the United States, we have a significant health crisis. Like 70% of our population is overweight and obese. That's not cool, right? That's not good. So like, what are we doing? We're just fighting and wasting energy amongst us about which modality is better, especially like in Pilates. I'm sure it's like even more fragmented within your little sector of like, no, you can't do that. You have to do it the traditional way that, you know, Mr. Pilates said you have to do it. So it's, I don't know what it is, but that's my guess. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great example, the Olympic lifting example, because it is in now probably every functional training and strength and conditioning concept out there right now. I mean, same could be said for even when boxing started to emerge in like the group space, and you know, there were the traditionalists that were kicking up a fuss because what's in the ring, it's not done with a proper coach, all that sort of stuff. The evolution of these modalities and the industry just continues, and I think we're going to see so many more hybrid concepts coming to market, and I think it is a great space because there's a lot of good training out there. There's a lot of different great types of trading. So yeah, look, I just hope that it continues to be, you know, a positive place, and we don't all sort of bring each other down in the process.
Well, the way I look at it is like once you put an idea out there, like you put a concept or a modality, whatever it is, it's not really yours anymore. Like you got to accept that like people are going to take it, they're going to run with it and almost, you know, use it as a point of pride. Like, you know, if you came up with a specific modality and now people are making it their own, improving on it, you know, changing it, tweaking it, trying new things, I think that's pretty flattering, right? If anybody ever did that, I don't have any ideas worth that, but like if that happened to me, I'd be stoked. So yeah, man. Well, let's talk about the business itself. So give us the baseline. Like what does a Strong Pilates franchise need to get started? I mean, the footprint, the equipment, like, yeah, give us the high level.
Yeah, I would say investment overall, you know, you're looking at kind of 400 to 500K for literally everything. So a franchisee will come in and purchase a territory. You know, we try and keep our territories pretty big. So, you know, population anywhere from 30 to 80,000 people. And someone will come in, buy the location. That price will include all of their fit out in there, that their row formers, everything like that. And also like probably the biggest component, it's a loss leader for us, but it's a super important one, is the education, the academy. So we have almost 1,000 instructors now around the world, and they go through our course and they learn to become a strong trainer or a strong instructor. So that's a really big one for us. So the franchisee will open a studio, go through our processes, and then try and hire like 5 to 7 incredible instructors. We generally look at, I would say like 90%, maybe 95% are Pilates instructors that have a Pilates qualification. We do sometimes try and teach personal trainers how to do Pilates, which is a little more difficult. And the course is quite, you know, it's quite a difficult one. Quite often they'll fail and things like that. But yeah, generally the franchisee will get a great team in. We train them up. We teach them our methodology. We teach them our sales process, everything like that. And then, yeah, we have a 16-week pre-sale. So we get a really, really good run at it. Last year, our pre-sale average was 258 members on direct debit from day one. That's across the board. And you think about like profitability for a studio, it might be 100 to 150 members, maybe 180 if you're in a really high, dense and expensive sort of area in the US. You know, we've got a lot of these locations breaking even from day one, but it's all about systems and processes. As boring as it sounds, it's just about following the playbook. And yeah, it's working, mate. I think over 70% of our franchisees now own more than one studio, too. Up to 5 really is sort of the biggest I've seen in this short periods. It's really working. The model's holding its own, which is super important, I think, in starting any sort of franchise or business.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit more about the education. Is that, how intensive is it? Is it online? Is it in person? That's a bit unique.
Yeah. It's a hybrid. So there's an online component and an in-person component. You know, we can generally it goes for 3 weeks, sometimes longer, sometimes shorter. But yeah, we get them in the studio for a very intensive couple of sessions. Like they're literally by the end, they're instructing classes, they're training every single day. And yeah, there's just so many nuances. Like we're not just doing one thing where we're teaching people how to do Pilates. We're teaching Pilates people how to be strength and conditioning coaches. And then we're teaching strength and conditioning people how to be Pilates coaches. So there's a lot there. We like people with existing qualifications because we don't want to teach them physiology and those type of things. We want them to know the fundamentals. But yeah, it's a pretty great process. But you know, we've got such a good team from a movement perspective. You know, we've got, even from a programming perspective, we've got Pilates experts, exercise physiologists, strength and conditioning coaches that all collaborate together to create these programs that go out on the screens every day. And the fact that we curate that programming is very helpful, particularly in the Pilates space, because most Pilates classes you can go to and you'll do the same thing 3 days in a row because the instructor will teach the same thing, or you have different instructors that don't know what you've done the day before. So that variety and having a really balanced program is super important.
Yeah, awesome. What about the demographics? Like who tends to be walking in your doors?
Yeah, everyone likes to go after these people, but it's like the 25 to 50-year-old female that is really a hero of our product. We're seeing a lot of growth in Gen Z, actually, which is very interesting, particularly in the last year. And the cool thing is, like, with the brand, we're so gender neutral. Like we're black, white, splash of light blue. And we get it. We started with like 9% male or something. We've grown that to now over 20%. So that's really cool to see men coming in and doing it, particularly like a lot of ex-athletes, a lot of people that have been training for a long time, a lot of guys that have got the sore lower backs, the sore knees. They come in and it's just really...
That's me.
We'll have to get you in, mate. But yeah, they come in and they love it. And now they can train with intensity again with little to no risk of injury. So it's a little bit of everyone. And from like a marketing consumer perspective, we not only do we get people who are regular Pilates goers, but we get people who do functional training. We get people who do spin classes. We get literally everybody coming in, and like it's not like we're kind of pigeonholed to this sort of small genre within the fitness space. We are getting everybody. So it's really exciting to be honest.
You mentioned, Michael, that you're looking for markets about 30 to 80,000. So is that right? Is that what you said?
Yeah, give or take. Like it just changed. Like, and you would obviously know a lot better than me, but with the US, there's so many different high populated markets. Like you look at the density of New York City comparatively to like some of the locations we have here in Texas. Like it's generally a formula of population where we will work with the franchisee to create that territory. And for us, it's really important we don't cannibalize either. Like we don't want to open 2 studios next door. I've seen brands in the past get into trouble with that and open too many and too quickly. So we try to give a lot of space, and we actually reserve areas ourselves. We put them in the blue zone, we call it, where studios just can't open. So the franchisee will look at the map and there's all the different suburbs everywhere around the US, but we also reserve spots just to ensure that our growth and our trajectory isn't going to cannibalize, and we can do it sustainably as well. I think responsible franchising is going to be a much bigger topic in the next few years. And, you would have read it.
I think it has to be.
No, it has to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't want to be in any of those articles talking about, the demise of a franchise. So, and more importantly, like, we want people who invest in our brand to make money and not feel like they've got competition down the road that's the same brand. It's just this responsible franchising piece is something myself and Mark talk about probably weekly. And how do we do this sustainably but still do it quick enough? I think speed to market is also super important, because I know the fitness industry moves quickly. It's volatile. So, yeah, again, really, really interesting sort of topic as well, mate.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's topics 2 years ago that I was sick of talking about, and I haven't even mentioned them once. That's how like the trends go, right? Like, although artificial intelligence, that's not going anywhere.
It's everywhere.
Yeah, it's everywhere. Like the market specifically, I would imagine for you guys, it's like smaller urban markets, right? Like New York City, everybody wants a piece of that. But, I don't know. Well, like Austin's probably fairly big now too. I don't even know what the population is. It's grown exponentially, but like, I don't know, like Boise, just because it's in my backyard, right? Or like something like that, like kind of smaller B and C urban markets. Is that the target, or is that where you see a lot of traction?
We actually have a group, Momentic, that have bought 96 locations, and they are going into tier one markets. So there's probably 30 or 40 LOIs in now in, your West Hollywoods, your New York Cities, your tier one markets. I think Austin's a tier one market. But interestingly, our first studio was in Stone Oak in San Antonio. And I actually just looked at their account yesterday, and they have over 200 people trialing. They've just hit the $1 million a year mark in terms of their recurring revenue, and now they're getting their second studio. And I would say Stone Oak in San Antonio is not a tier one market. Like it's very sort of residential, and there's some nice shops and things like that, but it doesn't have the density of a New York City. So I'm excited that it can work everywhere. For us, it's just about the real estate piece, and getting that right. And I think it's almost more important here than it is around the rest of the world. So this has been a massive focus for us, and got some great partners sort of helping us out there.
What's the footprint again? How big are these things that you guys are building out?
Yeah, like I'd say minimum is like 3,000 square feet.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the type of people that you're looking to franchisees, like, is there a specific mold that you're looking for? Obviously, if someone comes and say want to buy 98 and they're a professional, organization that has great operations and things like that, you're going to say yes, right? But as I say often on this, like, it's very different than, opening a fitness franchise than like a Taco Bell, right? You have to market it a little bit differently. You have to have a little bit more excitement and passion. It's hard to be just completely hands off and let this thing operate. I mean, maybe you can if you have just tight systems, but yeah. So who tends to be the best franchisees for you guys?
Yeah, we try and avoid anyone that talks about passive income. You are running a business, and more importantly, you're building a community. So we love people that are right in their community, that have an understanding of business. Some of our top performing franchisees actually have sales backgrounds, which is very interesting to me. And then, so there's probably that sort of single unit operator type of franchisee that we love, that are in their community. They understand fitness, they're passionate, they understand business. And then the other side would be the investor model, the 96 locations, or like even in Jersey, I think we've sold 10 to one party, and they are an existing fitness franchise owner. So generally, if they've come from fitness franchising or that sort of nuance around investment franchising, they're fantastic. But, some of our best operators are those single unit operators that just know their community and they hustle as well. Yeah. Anyone who's not really willing to put the work in, we try and avoid, which is hard because we do reject a lot of franchise inquiries coming through, which is hard sometimes when you're scaling a business, especially in the US. But yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, give me some. Let's look into the future here a little bit. So it's 2025. If we're having a beer in 2030, let's say, right? And you're like, dude, we crushed it. Like, we're super happy. We couldn't. Nothing could have gone better, right? What would that look like? What would have happened?
I would say we would have executed correctly on building the brand equity in these markets. So you can't, as a sort of a business, yes, we have 100 studios, but we're still quite small in the US. We need to start local. So we need to build local communities, and then we sort of expand to cities, and then we expand to states. And if we're sitting back in 5 years saying we crushed it, well, we executed that strategy properly. We didn't try and go too big too quickly, be a national brand. We rolled out with great communities, profitable studios, and we're able to slowly build a national presence. So yeah, I think for us, it's about not being too big too quickly or trying to be too big too quickly, and just doing this sustainably with the right partners. If we execute on that, we've hopefully done our job.
Yeah. You use the term brand equity, which comes up every once in a while in conversations on this podcast, but it's always, when we talk about branding and things like that, everyone kind of has a different thought that comes to mind. And for a lot of people, it's very hard to define itself. You kind of know what it is. So when you think of brand equity, what does that mean specifically? Like, expand on what that concept means to you, to Michael.
Yeah, it's probably that sort of consumer brand awareness where they know the brand, they trust the brand, and not only that, the brand has value. So, going into a brand new market, your brand equity is very, very low. No one knows who you are. You have a very small footprint. I think brand equity is made up of all those things within core marketing and branding. And to build that out, you need people seeing your brand 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times, before they purchase. Need people to have that cohesive awareness of they see your copy, or they see your color palette, and they recognize that that's Strong Pilates. Like, all those little things all come under that umbrella of brand equity. It's a very, very hard thing to do in a market with such a big population. And it's not something like, I don't believe really that many brands will go viral anymore. I think 5-10 years ago, some brands would get lucky and they would just explode. But I think it's much harder to do, and it's a sort of slow, sustainable process now.
What's when you think about a brand that's exploded? Like, I'm trying to think of one in a viral way. Like, does anything come to mind specifically?
In the health space, I mean,
wherever.
Aura are doing an amazing job, I think. Even like 8 Sleep, I think, are doing a great job, and they've exploded very quickly. David bars, the protein bars. Yeah, I mean, they're sort of 3 off the top of my head, but Aura took a bit of time, but they're selling millions of units. Yeah, I just think some of these things hit and some things don't. And yeah, I mean, have you got any examples?
No. I mean, I love the 2 years, but I have an Aura and I have an 8 Sleep, and I'm a huge fan of both of them. And you think about even ones that have been around for a while, like I think of Garmin now, like they've been around for a very long time, but now like their brand is really catching fire within the fitness and health world, which is pretty incredible. It's almost like a resurgence of a brand in particular niche, right? And I don't know if that was intentional or if they just make a great product and people loved it or love it. But yeah, that's one that kind of comes to mind.
I think it's like super important, and this is for us. Our innovation button is always on. Garmin, I'm not sure of the case study, but you've got brands like Whoop and similar coming in and probably going a bit harder from an innovation perspective. And I was lucky enough to sort of study marketing and learnt a lot about longevity in brands. The big thing is, if you are not innovating, you will recess and you will die. There's not a lot of brands or products or businesses out there that have stayed the same for 5, 10, 20 years. You have to innovate always. So, for us, like the innovation button is always on. The tech investments we're making now, the machine investments, like we just put in a reverse spring system where you can do a 100-pound deadlift, on the machine. So, and again, that's like strength training on a reformer, which is very controversial. But yeah, look, I think you just have to innovate always. Like you cannot just have a product or a service and just say this is it and keep it the same for too long. It just needs to be this constant evolution.
Yeah. I mean, even you look at like brands, F45, I think is a really good brand that you could say absolutely exploded, within a short period of time, and they're still innovating. I mean, you and I talked about Luke Armstrong, quote unquote GOAT of franchise sales, right? Luke, if you're listening, what's up, man? Like how even like when I went and visited their LA headquarters early before the pandemic, like there was constant like little like functions of innovation that they were working on, whether it was like their cruise ships or, college campuses or, a unique, like, I don't want to get into their tech, but it was, you could tell there was innovation was at the cornerstone of what they did. And even today, right, they've kind of gone through their rough patch in the pandemic and everything, and they're still innovating in the Pilates space and the different areas. So I think kudos to those guys. And I don't think they get enough credit nowadays for what they've done.
Mate, I agree. I also think their marketing has improved. When we actually left, sort of around the 2019 period, we felt the innovation wasn't enough. And, getting Olympic barbells in there, getting ski ergs in there, those kind of things, they weren't even in the conversation. So now they've actually done that. They brought it in. They're following strength. There's such a movement for strength training now, and to have proper strength training equipment in there. And, we saw that movement happening, and kudos to them for doing it now and getting it right now. I think with their 45, they've repositioned themselves because in Australia, they were a cool new hot brand. To me, they feel like the everyday man's workout now. Like I went and trained the other day in around Hermosa Beach in California, and it was just like, it was your mum and dad's. It was, the workout wasn't excruciatingly tough, but it was friendly enough to get people in at the entry level. And I think where they position themselves now is very smart, and they're on a really good path. So it's good to see, because we went through a period in Australia where, they closed hundreds of locations and we thought the brand was dead. So no, I agree, mate. They're doing a great job, and they're on the right path now.
Last question for you, man. What do you need help with? So as an industry, if inevitably people reach out to you after listening, like what would you like to hear from people about what's important right now?
And from what perspective?
Like, do you need, are you growing your team? Do you need marketing? Obviously you want people reaching out about buying franchises. Like what's critical to your growth?
Right now, it's probably infrastructure, and that is in the way of instructors. So getting good instructors in, because we can open busy, but we can't open up enough stock, like have enough classes running, unless we have the instructors facilitating the classes. So that's really the big one. It's building a network of instructors. So for us, that's awesome. If we can get more people interested and involved and wanting to go through our academy, that's a big one. Property, we just started working with Sabre, who are fantastic. They've been doing a lot of great work in the background. So we're great from a property perspective. Marketing, always happy to take any advice or hand there. It's, from a PR perspective, just getting the word out. Like, we're such a unique brand and quite a controversial one, I think, in this space. So aligning with the right publications and just getting the word out of who we are, what we do, and why we're unique is very important as well. So, mate, I'm sure there's a million other things, but yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot. Awesome, man. If people want to get a hold of you or get in touch, is there any specific way to do that? Or where would you send them?
strongpilates.co, so .co, that's the website. Or if they want to just check out what we do, our Instagram handle is @strong. So we've got that one handle,
Nice.
which is, mate, it's fantastic. I bought it as an investment, actually, like
Really?
7 years ago. I just started buying Instagram handles. And when I did the workout in Orange County, I was like, how does this make me feel? It makes me feel strong. And then I had the handle, and here we are. Yeah, so @strong or strongpilates.co, and everything's there. Whether it's buying a franchise, wanting to sign up as a member, wanting to trial as a member, wanting to be an instructor, whatever it is, it's all there.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining me, man. It's been a lot of fun, and we'll keep tabs on what you're up to. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, Michael Ramsey.
Thank you. Appreciate it, mate.